welcome to another episode of Metal, Meeples, and Beer. I am Rob himself, and in this video I'm going to be doing another Robb review. Today I've selected The Reckoners from Nauvoo Games, based on the novels from Brandon Sanderson. But before I get to any of that, I'm definitely having a beer. Today I've selected the Space Cake Double IPA from Clown Shoes Brewing in historic Boston, Massachusetts. While I'm drinking that, I'll be listening to the album Where Owls Know My Name from the badass metal band Rivers of Nile. They hail from Reading, Pennsylvania. I've been able to see them a couple times over the last couple of years, and they are insane. If you haven't had a chance to see these guys, folks, go out and see them, okay? They're amazing. So, while I get this game set up, sit back, relax, grab yourself a pint, join me at the table as we take a look at The Reckoners from Nauvoo Games. Cheers. Okay, well, let's just jump right into it here. So I have The Reckoners set up on my table here. So the first thing I've got to say about this game is that the components are off the charts. This game is massive. Everything you see in front of you isn't even everything I need to show you for the game, okay? So you've got to bear with me. I'm going to have to move a few things around here to make sure that you get an idea of what we're dealing with. But this is kind of the basic setup, very compacted onto my little screen here so you guys can see most of the components, okay? So this whole game is based off the novels from Brandon Sanderson. It's a trilogy, I believe. And what this is about, generally speaking, is that there was a galactic event which ended up giving a lot of humans on Earth superpowers. So the bad thing is, though, that every one of these people that got these superpowers decided to use their powers for evil, right? So a little different than the typical superhero story. These are actually all supervillains. Everybody on Earth decided that they were going to use their newfound powers for their own benefit. So what we're doing in this game is we're a small group of humans that have decided to fight back and try to take down these superheroes, or supervillains, I should say, these people with superpowers. They actually refer to them as epics. So these epics are our goal. We're trying to slaughter these epics, learn about their abilities, find their weaknesses, and eventually assassinate them. But there's one in particular, this guy right here, named Steelheart. He is the big bad guy. He is the one that we are gunning for. He is the strongest of all of these epics and has taken the city of Chicago hostage, more or less, called it Newcago. And he has taken this whole city hostage. He's running it like a terrorist, more or less. He's got his own police force, and people are dying. So it's up to us to take him down, okay? And we are called the Reckoners. We're a group of regular humans trying to research and destroy these epics, and specifically Steelheart. So to win the game, we have to kill Steelheart. And how do we lose the game? From the population, which on this track over here starts at 40. It's kind of hard to see, but this track is the Reckoner's kind of home-based track. There's a population on the left side in pink that starts at 40, and then there's a money track on the right here in yellow that starts at $4, and then there's items at the top that we can buy throughout the game, and then the thing in the middle I'll tell you about a little bit later on. But yeah, so the whole, generally speaking, point of the game is for us to eliminate Steelheart before he eliminates our population, okay? And in a two-player game, this is generally a two-player game setup. There are 3 districts of Newcago set up. So 1 more district per player. So if you have 4 players, it would be 5 of these districts, okay? And this game does play from 1 to 6 players. It actually would take a huge amount of table space to make that happen. So it is a 1 to 6 player. I've only played it with 4 and under, and it's played really well. But either way, there are these 3 districts set up, and in each one of these, we're going to assign it an epic. So much like Steelheart, we're going to assign 3 of kind of his cronies, like this guy, Night Wielder, to this district, this guy, Death Point, to this district, and Half-Life to this district. Okay, so you start with 3 epics on the board, and the rest of them are in a pile in the middle. And all of the epics start at basically a level 3. So this little notch here is set to have 3 icons to the left of it. Okay, and those are going to be the actions that these epics take. And Steelheart, his actions are all going to be set to 2, okay, to start the game. So 2 actions to the left of each one of these little blue toggles here. To begin the game, you select a player as well. So you want to select a character. And this I haven't even shown you yet because I can't fit it onto the board, but here is a typical player board. So this would be one of the main characters, David. You would take his 6 die, 3 white die, which are all the same in the box. You can take any 3 white die you want. And for him, he takes 3 blue die, okay? As well as one of these black chits, which I'll tell you about shortly. You take that, you take his player card, which gives him a special ability, and you take his mini, okay? So you take all that and you keep it to the side. Then the game starts with a prologue. So basically it's kind of like an early setup just to get the game kind of rolling along. So you take Steelheart and you place him in any district you want, okay? So let's say he starts in this district. We have to set up the powers of each of the epics. So these epics, as you can see here, up in the top left, have a purple number and a green number. The purple is their research level, the green is their life. So this particular epic starts with 2 research and 6 life points with a 4 underneath it, which I'll explain after. So to set this one up, we have to move these little units here. There's a purple one here. We set it at number 2 on the purple track, which is his research. And we set this one at 6 on the green track, which is his life. And we'll do that for all 3 of them. This one has a research of 3 and a health of infinite. So I'll show you where that goes with a little 5 underneath it. So the purple cube will go on 3 for him, right here, and infinite here. So he actually starts with his green cube here, and he's unable to be hurt until you've researched him. Okay, so that's how that works. Same for this guy over here. He's set to 2, or 4, I should say. He's got a 4 for his research, and an infinite as well, which goes here. So again, he can't be hurt either until we've researched his weaknesses. So how do we do that? Well, first, there's a little bit more to the setup. For Steelheart, this red part of his tray fires. I'll show you what that looks like. So he's got some actions that are going to happen every turn. There's this one, this one, this one, and this one. On the prologue, we just fire this one. So for every red star to the left of this blue toggle here, we're going to grab a soldier, a police officer from like his special police. So we have 3 of them. Then there's a 2 underneath that says, basically, for every time we do this action, we're going to put 2 guys in every district until we run out of guys to put down. So for this particular scenario, we start with 3, and starting with the district that he's in, we're going to place 2 red police officers, leaving us only with 1 left, and going clockwise, we're going to put that one here. So if we had 2 left, we'd put 2 here, and if we had 2 more, we'd put them there, okay? Just in clockwise order. Then, yeah, we're pretty much ready to start the game. We can purchase these items if we want as a team up in the top of this track. Some of them are $3, $2, $4, and they give you special abilities. For instance, if you bought this one for $3, you would get an extra blue die for whoever decided to buy that, okay? And only the character that buys that gets the blue die. So if it was my character, I would get an extra blue die out of the box and add it to my character, okay? And then we would replace that item with a new item, and so forth. And if it cost me $3 to buy, I would move this down to here, leaving 1 left, okay? So, how does a turn work? generally speaking, we roll the dice, okay? So now I'm going to move this track out of the way so you can see what I'm looking at here. Here's my character board with the die, okay? So we take all the dice out of here and we're going to roll them. And for every time we roll, we're going to have to keep one of the die. And on this particular roll, for this character, the blue die have one set of doubles. For every character, they have basically a bonus on their color of green. The blue die have a double of this blue icon. Some will have a double of this. Some will have a double of that. This, and this. There's 6 of them, okay? For him, this is the containment action. So this is a really good action. What containment does is it keeps moving this toggle to the left. For every blue icon you have, these, you can move this to the left, allowing them to fire less and less actions per turn, down to a maximum of having 1 action for them. So I'm going to keep that die. I'll put that back up. I'm definitely going to keep that die, and for every die you keep off your first roll, you put them in this line, and they'll come down this row. You can even come off the table if you want. And so, because this guy is all about containment, I'm going to keep the double blue, these 2 blue. I'm also going to roll again. Oh, and I forgot to put out my mini, so I would probably have started him here on the space with Steelheart. Okay, I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason. There's some of these epics you want to kind of take down. You'd really have to look at them and see which ones are strong and which ones aren't. And you can really, decide among you who you want to put where based on their strengths. But for argument's sake, I'll just put them in here with Steelheart, okay? So I took the other 3 dice I had, I'm going to re-roll them. And we have to keep at least 1 again. So maybe I want to keep money. So this one just gives you money every turn. So if you put this on here, you can spend it to raise your money track by 1. Okay, so maybe I want to keep that in this one. And then you get to re-roll these for one last time. And I rolled a red, so this one eliminates a police officer off the district you're in. So let's say I kept that too. And this one. This one is a wild, basically. It can be anything you want. So what this is going to do is this is going to give me, when I play it, a black chit to add to my repertoire. So how do these work? So, okay, let's say I wanted to use this first. I would do 2 containment actions. I'd place it here in my tray to say I've used it, and then I would do 2 containment. So, for instance, I could do, since I'm in this district with Death Point, I could either do a containment action to Death Point or to Steelheart because he's in my district, which would affect his board over there. So I could drop maybe this one to give him 1 less action, and I could also drop Steelheart's, any one of these, by 1. So let's say I dropped the top one here, down 1. Okay, and that's how that die works. Now I've got 5 left. I got 2 more containment actions I can use. I'll spend both of those to do 2 more containments. So maybe I'll drop Death Point here, another one. And I'll drop Steelheart, 1 more. Maybe I'll drop this one down, another one. Okay? And I'll tell you what all those mean in a minute. They all do relatively bad things when they fire. Then I would spend, I still have these other 3 dice, so I'd spend the money one. I'd put that in here, and that would raise a money track up $1. Then I could spend this one, which eliminates one of his police officers off the board. And I could play this one, which is going to give me one of these black chits, which is a, again, it's a freebie. It's a whatever you want it to be, okay? But you don't get this right away. See, there's this little tray here. You start with 1 in your tray. But this one would have to sit off to the side until your next turn. Then you would slide it in here and it would become available. But for now, it's not available, okay? So that's all my die. The second player would have done the same thing, and they do it simultaneously, and you can roll these dice as many times, or as, like, you can roll them as few times as you want. You can watch what each other are getting. So you could roll one die, you could roll another. You could wait to see who's getting what to kind of work together for the best combination of these die you can come up with, okay? So the other player would have spent all 6 of their die and maybe one of these to do a random thing. For instance, I could use this right now, and I could do a research action, which is the same as the purple hourglass. So this right here, I could use it to do a research action, spend it, and I could drop either death points research by 1 down to there, or I could drop, since Steelheart is in my district, I could drop his down by 1, which is right here. I could drop it down to there. And the farther down the research track goes, the closer you are to being able to start doing some damage to Steelheart. To start the game, I should have mentioned at the beginning, you set Steelheart on the most easy of all levels at 18 for a 2-player game, for both his research level and his health. So you would have to do 18 research to eliminate his research board, and underneath it is a second board with his health on it, which would be also set to 18 when you get to that point. But yeah, so both players would have done their 6 actions, or maybe more if they used one of their bonus chits. And that's all that would really happen there. You would then move on to receiving rewards. So if you'd eliminated an epic from the game, say we had killed this guy, you would get these rewards up in the top corner. And this reward is 2 research, and you'll see a little crown. That means it's specifically for Steelheart. So you would drop Steelheart's research track by 2, and you'd also get $2 on your money track. But we didn't eliminate anybody just yet, but that's what would happen. So basically, to eliminate these guys, you keep, every time you drop their research down to here and into here, then you would be able to drop his health from 6, you can see up here, 6 to 4. If you fully research this guy, he'll drop his health from 6 to 4 right off the bat. Okay, and yeah, so you're going to want to do as much research as possible to drop these guys down so you can make them easier to kill. For instance, this guy here, if we did a whole bunch of research to him using that purple icon, which is this die, you would be able to drop his, if you did 3 research to him, you'd be able to drop his infinite, which means now he could go down to 5 health. All of a sudden he goes from untouchable down to 5 health, and you can wipe him off the board if this was, his research was completely finished. Then if you did kill him, you take him off the board, and you would do the receive rewards part of the game. After you've rolled the dice and after you've used the dice, any epics that we've killed, you would get these rewards for. Again, there'd be 4 research to Steelheart, and then you'd get 3 of those black chits to divide amongst you as you want. Okay, so after the receiving rewards part, there's the purchase equipment again. So we could go back to this tray, right? And you could buy anything that's in the top layer there, if you had the money to spend, which is the yellow track right here, which we'd have $2 right now, so you'd be able to afford most of everything on top. Okay. Then after that, it's the epics. So on their turn, for any, let's say that this guy was killed last time, for any open spot, you would assign a new epic to that spot. You'd put her in here, refractionary, and every time they come in, they're set to level 1. Okay? So the starting epics are all at level 3, but from everyone that comes in after that, they're set to level 1. So you set all the epics into their spot. If you have any empty spots, you fill it. You set them to level 1. You put their research and life in the proper spot. For instance, she's got a research of 2 and a health of 3, or infinite, I should say. Again, if you research her fully, her infinite health drops down here, and you're able to kill her. And then you activate the epics once all that's done. So starting in the district with Steelheart, not Steelheart himself, but in that district, you fire the epic. So this epic, Death Point, would only be doing one. You can't really see it, so because of the light. But he would be doing one action this turn, and that's it, because it's only one icon to the left of this blue little toggle here, okay? And all that would do is over on Steelheart's board is it would bolster him. It would raise the yellow up by 1, which is killing population when it comes to Steelheart. So now he's up to 2 on there. Then in the circle going clockwise, you would go to the next epic, fire anything that's on his tray to the left of the toggle. For this one, he would kill an epic, he would kill one population. So on our population track up here, we would go down from 40 to 39. Okay? And he would also bolster up both the yellow and blue tracks on Steelheart. So again, this would go up by 1 to 3. This would stay there. And the blue would go up by 1 to there. Okay? And also, I forgot to mention, after they've fired their actions, they automatically move up by 1. So he'd move to level 2. And because there's a red soldier, police officer on his district, you would do an extra one. So the same thing would happen for Half-Life here. He would go up by 1 automatically, and then for every red soldier, he'd go up an extra 1. So he's already way up. Okay? So that goes around to all the different epics. This guy would only be doing 1, and he would be just bolstering himself. Basically, it's got this icon for both the research and the life. He's already got infinite life, or she, I should say, has infinite life. So we don't need to bolster that, but you could bolster his research by 1. Okay? Then this one would move up 1 automatically. And since there's no red police officers on this district, it doesn't go up an additional 1. So, once all the epics have fired, then it's Steelheart's turn. And he is super rough to deal with. So, right off the bat, he would kill 3 of the population, dropping it from where were we, 39 down to 36. And then this would fire. So nothing happens there, but this one would drop this cube here on this track. One second. This white cube here would drop down 1. And if this one reaches all the way down to here, then we would lose a die. One of us would have to give up a die, and you'd have to pay $2 to get it back. Okay, and losing die is terrible in this game, so you don't want to do that. But for now, this would have dropped down by 1. Then, Steelheart would also put out as many red stars as there is to the left in police officers, so 2. And he'd put them out in the district that he's at. So right here. And then on the bottom, it's barricades. So he'd put out actually 2 barricades. And these barricades, starting where he is and moving clockwise again, he'd put out 1 barricade on his district and a barricade on the next district going clockwise. And these barricades can stop you from going into or out of that district. So the only way you're able to get rid of these barricades if you want to leave that district or go into that district is spend 1 of your die, any one of them, doesn't matter the symbol, you just spend it and you can eliminate that barricade. Okay? That's the only way that works. You can also use any one of your die at any time, spend any symbol to move from any district to any other district. It doesn't have to be side by side. If there was 6 districts, you could just choose a new district. Okay, it's that simple. Then after Steelheart has done all his damage, you go back to the beginning and you grab your die and you go again. So it's our Reckoner's turn again. You would roll your die again and you would take whatever you want. For instance, we take these 2 bolsters, or these containment ones. Maybe we wanted a couple research as well. I would take those, roll these, keep one for this round, and roll another one and keep it there. And then we would spend them again. And that's just how this works. It keeps going over and over and over in turn order like that. We would also get this chip, that one that we got from last time. We'd be able to use that now. So that's how this works. And you keep going over and over and over and over and over again until either Steelheart has been fully researched from 18 down to 0. This board's been removed. Then his life is set at 18. And his life has been dropped to 0, killing him. That's how you win the game. It's the only way you can win the game. And on the other side, if through the game, before you've accomplished that, he has dropped the population to 0, you lose. And it's as simple as that. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing. It is a bit to grasp to begin with. Go ahead and leave a comment if there's a question that you need answered specifically that I've missed here. But yeah, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. It was a bit of a mouthful to get across, especially on this small table. But yeah, hopefully it's not too confusing. Rolling the dice, using the dice, receiving the rewards from any epic that you've killed, purchasing equipment. Then you would add new epics to spots where epics have been killed, and then activate the epics, starting with the district that Steelheart is in, moving clockwise, and then firing Steelheart at the end, and doing it all over again. Okay, so that is the Reckoners, folks. So while I get this game cleaned up, I'm going to have a drink of my beer, and I will go ahead with my final thoughts, okay? Cheers. Well, there you have it, folks. That was The Reckoners from Nauvoo Games, based on the novels from Brendan Sanderson. So before I go any further, there's a couple things that I noticed that I didn't say in the original video. And one of those is that on Steelheart's turn, at the end of his turn, he's also going to roll, and he's going to move around from district to district. So the most he could move would be 4 spaces, but you would roll the die at the end of his turn, and if you rolled the 2, you'd move him from his district to 1, 2 districts away. Okay, and you can, if you roll the 3 and you're in this sort of scenario, he could end up rolling back onto the space that he originated at. So that's one thing I forgot to do. Another thing I forgot to do is to actually show you the one part of the dice that does all the death and killing, and that's this green skull. So to do all the damage to all these epics and to Steelheart, it's about this green skull. Okay, so I showed you everything else except for actually how to damage these guys. So yeah, for every green skull you roll, you can assign that much damage to either the epic that you're in his district, or if you're in the same district as Steelheart, you could deal that damage to him if you've researched him fully. Steelheart can have no damage done to him unless he's been fully researched. Then you can start assigning damage to him. Okay, so those are 2 things that I noticed right away that I didn't tell you about. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you kind of picked up on that through the video. So my final thoughts are, the first thing here is the components. I don't think I've ever seen a game with this much badass components out the gate. We're talking game tray plastics for everything. We're talking these plastic inserts, or these cardboard inserts. Everything's customizable. I'm blown away by the component level here. It's next level for sure. Everything is plastic. Everything is way overboard. And for me, I love that. I love it when everything's extravagant. Like this board here, we could have probably done with a couple spin down wheels, but they went the extra mile and gave us this big, beautiful tray to look at, displaying the tableau of these cards, these items that are for sale. You know, the rock to slide this down. These little these little trays for your population and money. They're just very cool. They're very different, very cool, very unique. I loved it. I love the fact that everything stacks inside the box on top of each other. You can put, you know, your character trays on top of the epics trays, and everything just sits in there really nicely. They've got places for the dice. They've got places for the cards. They've got trays for everything. All the components fit in here. The miniatures have their own spot. And the one thing about the miniatures too is inside the miniature tray, every little molding is the same. So it doesn't matter which miniature you put in each molding. They all fit. And they're all very different, but they all actually fit. They've thought about it, and they've made every molding fit any character. So you don't have to sit there wondering which character goes in which things. That was a pretty cool part of it for me. Yeah, so components are absolutely off the charts. Love it. The artwork is phenomenal. The box artwork, you know, everything here is phenomenal as far as components goes. Now for the gameplay, I loved it. I've never been as obsessed with trying to win a game as I have been with this game. And I've played this game solo 3 or 4 times as well, and I've won it a couple times that way. I've also won it in a 3-player game. And once in a 4-player game, but of all the times we played, it's probably sitting still about 50%, and that's on a pretty low level. So this game is pretty hard. You really have to work together. You have to be really, really on the same page as far as who you need to attack, who you need to research, how you're going to get to Steelheart to take him down. So it's an awesome co-op game, and I every time I play it, I think about what I could have done differently, or what I should have done here, should have done there. And yeah, I just want to play it again as soon as I finish playing. Win or lose, you know. Winning, I can go to bed happy, but losing, you want to kind of play this again right away. So yeah, kudos to Nauvoo Games. This game is unbelievable. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I've played it with all sorts of people. I've taught it to all sorts of different groups of people. They've all enjoyed it. Win or lose, and that's a huge thing. When you lose a game and you want to play it again, especially for people that haven't played a ton of games. I even showed a few people like that to this game, you know, that haven't played games a ton, and they even enjoyed it, you know. So that's a huge thing for me. So yeah, there's not much else to say. I love the source material. I hadn't really heard of the books even before I started reading this, but I found them. I got a copy of the first book and I started reading it. The source material is super awesome. I highly recommend you start digging into it. It really helps with the theme here. The theme is so awesome. I love the fact that we're trying to take down superheroes. You know, it's usually the other way around, that the superheroes are doing all these great things for all the people in the world. But instead, these people said, you know what? Screw it. Basically, I'm going to go and I'm going to do whatever I want. And these guys basically enslave the human race, make everyone do whatever they want, and basically try to run the show like gods. And our little group of people has had enough and decide to take them down one by one, assassinating them. And I think it's a super cool idea for a game. It's very original, very unique. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So again, I like this game a ton. Go out and get it, people. If you can't, you know, find someone who has it, play it. You know, like if you can't, this might be a good game for like a game group to go in on. You know, so because I think it's about the $100 range. So you know, some people that's kind of out of their range. So go ahead and get in on this with a few of your friends, and you won't regret it. It's hours and hours and hours of fun, and the difficulty range. There's 4 different levels, and I've been playing everything at beginner. I'm going to start going on to the next range here to try and up the difficulty, to try and challenge myself a little bit more. But to be honest, for the first few games I played, even on beginner, it was tough. Okay, so get this game, guys. Love it. Again, you've been watching Metal, Meeples, and Beer. I am Rob himself. I've been drinking the what have I been drinking? The Space Cake Double IPA from Clown Shoes Brewing in historic Boston, Massachusetts. While I was recording this video, I was listening to the badass metal band Rivers of Nile, specifically the album Where Owls Know My Name. They hail from Pennsylvania. And yeah, again, love this game. Check it out, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Cheers.